Hello and welcome to this talk on sleep, how you can improve the quantity and quality of sleep and find out why it's so important. My name's Dr. Marilyn Glenville. I'm the UK's leading nutritionist specialising in women's health. I have a particular passion around hormone problems such as polycystic ovary syndrome, endometriosis, fibroids, men and women who need help with fertility, women going through the menopause and working on prevention of osteoporosis. I have clinics in Harley Street and also in Dublin and Galway, and we've been operating all the way through the lockdown by phone or Skype or Zoom, so it's been wonderful to still help people all the way through and being able to offer the same service, but of course just in a slightly different way. So I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see the slides as we go along. And we're looking at this whole aspect of sleep and why it's so important. Obviously, everybody thinks about it in terms of, well, we're going to have more energy the next day. We're not going to feel so irritable. It's just that aspect of it that actually now we know that the research is showing that it's much more important than just this aspect of how you might be feeling the next day. So we do know that insomnia affects 1 in 3 people, and it can affect you in different ways. For some people it's difficulty getting off to sleep. Others, it may also be waking up in the middle of the night. You may feel then you're not getting back to sleep, so your sleep feels shorter. So it's all those aspects that we're going to think about as we go through this talk. And what we do know now, that not getting enough sleep is not only just affecting how you feel the next day, but it increases your risk of type 2 diabetes, cancer, being overweight and Alzheimer's. So it's important to make those changes, not only for how you're going to feel when you've had a really good amount of sleep, but it's also how it's helping you in terms of your future health risks. So let's have a look at sleep and your mental and physical health and how it affects your body in different ways, both physically and also mentally. So we do know there's aspects of weight gain, and this is showing that if you don't get a good amount of sleep, and they're suggesting 6 to 8 hours a night is ideal, your hunger hormone ghrelin is overproduced, and leptin, which is actually supposed to suppress your appetite, is decreased. So there's that aspect of changing how your appetite and your hunger hormones work. And this was a huge study. This was 70,000 women studied over 16 years. They found those who slept less than 5 hours a night gained more weight over time than those who slept for 7 hours a night. And also when we think of what's going on at the moment and how you want to protect your immune function, we know that 7 hours sleep a night enhances the function of your T cells, and that's a type of white blood cells which can attack and kill viruses. And they did a trial with the flu vaccine, and one group only had 4 hours sleep and the other group had 7. Both groups given the flu vaccine, and those who'd only had 4 hours sleep had only half the level of the protected antibodies to the flu virus. So sleep is important. It's important for your general health, that we're seeing now how it can impact the situation we're in at the moment and how it can help protect your immune function. So this is looking at sleep and memory, and of course we're learning things during the day, and as we sleep, your body and your mind is able to consolidate those effects and the effects of the waking experiences and the things that you've learned during the day, and it converts those memories into more permanent or enhanced forms, and then you're able to retrieve them much easier. So it is important for your memory to make sure you are sleeping well. And then sleep and Alzheimer's. Now, this is really interesting. I wrote a book called Natural Solutions to Dementia and Alzheimer's. And it's interesting the amount of research now on how we can help ourselves both nutritionally, but also in these lifestyle factors. And sleep was one of them. That if you have too little sleep, it increases your risk for Alzheimer's, because this beta amyloid plaque, which is the hallmark of Alzheimer's, is cleared away during sleep, when your cerebral spinal fluid washes out toxins from your body. So this is something that is really helpful, especially if you've got a high family history risk of Alzheimer's, that you know that certain lifestyle changes could reduce your risk. So you've got this cerebral spinal detoxification, and it only happens when you sleep. And your brain cells will shrink slightly so that the channels, almost like rivers, are allowing more space for this cerebral spinal fluid to flow. And as it flows through, it's clearing out what they call these brain waste chemicals. And then when you wake up, your brain cells expand again. So this system of detoxification in the brain is only happening when you sleep. And the research is showing that actually the position in which you sleep can make this even more effective. So when you sleep on your side, left or right, you seem to be able to, your brain and your body is able to remove more of this buildup of these brain waste chemicals, such as this beta amyloid protein. So really important to make sure you are getting a good enough amount of sleep, because it's also protecting your memory and your risk of something like Alzheimer's. And then when we look at mental health, insomnia is recognised as one of the most common features of mental illness across depressive illnesses and psychosis, such as bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. So really important to think of both your mind and your body in terms of why it is important to have a good amount, a quantity of sleep, but also the quality as well. So let's have a look at some tips for a good night's sleep. You do need a sleep routine. They're talking now about sleep hygiene, that we have this routine leading up to going to bed, and that your body and your brain, your mind and your body are ready to switch off to have a good quantity and quality of sleep. Some of you may enjoy a warm bath, and you can put some lovely essential oils in there, so like lavender, that could be really helpful. And then the big one, where the research is going, that you need to think about if you are struggling with your sleep pattern, to think about switching off all the gadgets about an hour before you go to bed. We do know that light exposure, particularly from some of these mobile phones and also screens, tablets, can suppress the release of melatonin. So especially if you are struggling, to think about a different sleep routine, switching off those gadgets. I know it could be tempting to think, oh, you could do a bit of online shopping or catch up on social media, but you really want to think about winding down, switching all that off, and so you're ready for your brain to switch off, so you're going to sleep fairly easily, and then staying asleep. So we have this, we talked about this detoxification, this autophagy, and this is this house clearing system, and it clears out dead cells and pathogens. And it can be triggered by leaving 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours between your last meal of the day and going to bed, and not eating for 12 hours. And this is really important because it's actually, you're doing a 12-hour fast. I know we talk about intermittent fasting, which I'll cover, and also 16-8, but the 12-12 in terms of the research is really helpful, and it's the easiest and most practical way to do this. So you'd have your evening meal at, say, 8 o'clock. You don't eat again, and you're going to bed at 11 o'clock, so you've got 2 to 3 hours without food before you go to bed, and your breakfast is at 8 o'clock. You could do it at 7 o'clock. You could have dinner at 7 o'clock, you go to bed, say 10 or 11, and breakfast 7 o'clock in the morning. But you've got that 12-hour fast overnight, and that's really important. And there is this house cleaning system that's coming into play, and it's clearing out those dead cells and pathogens. So really important in terms of your immune function as we go into the winter. So let's have a look at stress. We need to include this because for some of you, it may be stress and anxiety that actually is stopping you having or getting off to sleep in the first place, but also waking you up because your brain is really active and it's thinking of all the different things that are happening and worrying about factors that may be out of your control and family members and everything else that's going on in the world at the moment. You don't want to be the tired but wired. And people say to me, you know, well, I'm exhausted, I'm really tired, and yet not being able to switch off because the brain is whirring around and thinking of everything that it should be dealing with. And this one's saying I've got to cut back on the caffeine, and it may be, I'll cover that because it may be something that's actually keeping you in this tired but wired. So I often talk about blood sugar, and it is really important because when you eat, your blood sugar, your blood glucose goes up, and response to that, your pancreas produces insulin, and it produces more insulin the higher your blood sugar goes up. Now, the downside is that when your blood sugar drops and it goes into hypoglycemia, your body is producing the stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol. When they're normally produced when you're in that fight or flight situation, your body's got to have instant energy for you to run or fight for your life. What's happening here is because your blood sugar's dropped, in order to release your sugar stores, your body releases your stress hormones, and then you can be left on this roller coaster. And what you're seeing here is that your body is actually releasing those stress hormones due to a pattern of eating. So it's making you feel more stressed than you should be. And one other common symptom of this is you could go to bed and you get to 3 or 4 a.m. and you're wide awake because you've had an adrenaline surge in the middle of the night. This roller coaster is going on day and night, and then it's waking you up. You could have palpitations, you may be even sweating, you just may be wide awake, and that's being caused by this adrenaline surge in the middle of the night. And for some of you, it may be really difficult for you to go back to sleep again. So it's affecting your whole pattern of sleeping. So what you eat and your timing of your food is really important. So the other benefit also, when you look at this amount of insulin that's being produced, is that you're also working on protecting yourself from pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes. So huge amount of benefits in terms of getting this roller coaster under control. So think about eating little and often. Don't go longer than 3 hours without food, because you want to make sure that you're not going into this hypoglycemia and that your adrenal glands are not producing more of the stress hormone in response to this pattern of eating. Think about you'll have more energy because you're not on this roller coaster of highs and lows. Your cravings for sweet foods, cakes and biscuits can go because your body is not asking you for a quick fix to bring this up again. Your blood sugar will steady, and so will your moods, because this mood can also be on that roller coaster, and you're going to feel less stressed because your body is not releasing those stress hormones in response to that pattern of eating. And you can sleep through the night because you're not going to get that adrenaline surge. So you just want to make sure you're thinking about eating what we call a low glycemic index amount of food, so taking out the refined sugar, the white pasta, the white flour, anything that's going to hit your bloodstream quickly and is going to set you up on this roller coaster. So I have to mention 5-2 and intermittent fasting. I know it's very popular, but I have to say that if you are stressed or anxious, then it's not a good idea to do this, because if you go into this calorie restriction, it's actually going to increase cortisol. It's going to make you feel more stressed than anxious than you already are. And you're going to wake up, excuse me, with higher cortisol in the morning, already in this fight or flight mode. Breakfast is breaking the fast, and it helps then to calm down that response straight away in the morning. So my suggestion is, especially with the 5-2 one, you could be on 500-600 calories on those fasting days. You are much better, especially if you're not sleeping well, especially if you're stressed and anxious, to do the 12-12. You're eating little and often during the day. You're leaving that 12 hours, 2 to 3 hours after your evening meal before you go to bed, and then you've got that time overnight before breakfast. And always think of the 80-20 rule, that 80% of the time you'll be able to do that 12-12, but there will be times you may be invited out for dinner when we can do that, and you're eating later, and that routine may go. But where you can, think about that 12-12. It's got a lot of health benefits, but you're also getting that fasting benefit and that house clearing system coming into play by having that 12-hour fast overnight. Do watch what you drink. For some of you, it may not be the blood sugar roller coaster that may be coming from things like cakes and biscuits and that sort of thing, but it may be coming from what we call stimulants, that caffeine that can be coming from coffee. It could be also in energy drinks and colas. And for some of you, especially if you are having chocolate after dinner, if it's dark chocolate, the cocoa solids will be higher. That will have a stimulant effect as well. So think about where there may be a stimulant effect especially at the end of the day, that may be making it difficult for your brain to switch off and go to sleep, or maybe waking you up in the middle of the night. Interestingly, some people find that if they have a cup of coffee at 11 o'clock in the morning, then it affects their sleep at night. We're all very different sensitivities to caffeine, so you just need to do a bit of trial and error. And also watch alcohol as well. It is an anti-nutrient, but it's also a diuretic. And the difficulty with that is that it can wake you up in the night because you need to go to the toilet, but it's also waking you up because you get dehydrated. So it may be then you're thinking about what certain things could actually be triggering this disruption in your sleep pattern. Think about including more water. Herb teas would be lovely. I'm going to mention chamomile in a while, but you could use chamomile tea, after that, after dinner as well. So there are certain things that you could add in that are going to have a general calming effect. I love this one. It said, I didn't sleep well last night, so I made my coffee this morning with Red Bull instead of water. I got halfway to work before I realized I forgot my car. So you can't really live on adrenaline. There will be a possibility of burnout. It's like having your accelerator on the pedal of the car or your foot on the accelerator all the time. And in the end, the engine's going to burn out. So it is, think about calming your body down, especially so that at night, you haven't got this tired but wired, and it can just calm everything down, ready for your brain to switch off and have that good quantity of sleep during the night as well. So let's have a look at some really important nutrients. The B vitamins are important. They're your anti-stress vitamins, and particularly B5. It's really important for your adrenal function. And generally across the board, they're needed for the proper functioning of your nervous system. Also, vitamin B12 is important for that too. So if you're on largely a plant-based diet or a vegan diet, think about making sure you're having enough B12 as well, because it is important for your nervous system function. You've got magnesium, and it is classed as nature's tranquilizer. It has a very calming and relaxing effect on your body. Unfortunately, it gets depleted under stress, so you actually need more of it. And it is important for relaxation of muscles generally, and this is important if you get muscle cramps during the night that may be affecting your sleep, or tremors. Some people get restless legs of an evening. So anywhere where you need muscle relaxation, but generally in terms of helping with anxiety and tension. And then we've got chromium. So this is where it can be useful if you do get a lot of food cravings, you see yourself on that roller coaster, which may be causing this 3 or 4 a.m. wake up. So really helpful in stabilizing your blood sugar. It does improve the action of insulin and then helps move glucose, that sugar, out of your blood into your cells so it can be used for energy. But a lot of research, especially on if you are having a lot of cravings and binges, can really get you off that roller coaster. And then there's an amino acid called L-theanine, and it works by calming your body without causing drowsiness. And this is why it can be so useful, because you may be in a situation where you have deadlines, you may have exams, and you do need to have that concentration and focus, but you are aware that you do need to feel more calm and relaxed. But it's quite a good nutrient going in because it doesn't induce drowsiness. You can still stay focused. Your memory will be good. And it's shown to both reduce mental and physical stress. So very good in terms of that mind and body connection. And then the herb Siberian ginseng, it acts like a tonic to your adrenal glands. It's a really useful herb when you've been under a lot of pressure and to give your body that ability to cope, but also then reducing that physical impact of stress on your body, which may be impacting how well you sleep. So the supplement we use in the clinic, it's an NHP, Natural Health Practice supplement, which I actually formulated for NHP, and it's called Tranquil Support. And it's got magnesium in there, L-theanine, Siberian ginseng, chromium, the B vitamins, turmeric, and also aloe vera, because sometimes that stress response can affect how your digestive system is working. It's a vegan supplement, and it's 3 capsules a day, and you can either do 2 in the morning and 1 at night, or 1 in the morning, 2 at night, depending on how you might need that extra support. But a really good supplement, had a lot of good feedback on it. And then we've got the omega-3 essential fatty acids. And as the name implies, they are essential, meaning that your body cannot manufacture them. They have to come in from the outside in terms of either your diet or in terms of supplements. And the difficulty is, if you've been on a no-fat or a low-fat diet, the likelihood is that you're also deficient in these omega-3s. And they can give you symptoms of dryness because they lubricate your body from the inside out. You need them for lubricating your skin. Cracked skin on heel or fingertips can be one of the deficiency symptoms, poor wound healing, dry hair, any kind of aches and pains. You want that lubrication in your joints, but it can also affect you mentally in terms of changes in your mood like depression and also anxiety. We do have problems generally of the deficiencies of these omega-3 fatty acids, and we should be on a diet of a ratio of about 1:1 omega-6 to 3. And what you can see is that we're getting up to 25 times too much omega-6. So you want to push your diet and even supplementation to more of the omega-3s. And the omega-3s are important because they give you anti-inflammatory benefits. The omega-6s, when they become dominant, can be pro-inflammatory, actually causing more inflammation in your body, and that's not good. And any condition with an ITIS on it, like arthritis, diverticulitis, dermatitis, ulcerative colitis, they're all diseases or conditions of inflammation. So you want to work on creating that anti-inflammatory effect, and it is important then to make sure you've got enough of these omega-3 fatty acids going in. And they are also helpful in terms of how you are or feeling mentally. Research has shown they can help relieve depression, reduce anxiety, and help with any kind of mood disorders and being able to handle stress. So even though the world may have changed completely since the beginning of the year, things are out of our control, things are not in that normal situation that we would expect. And that can create a lot of anxiety and tension. The things are out of our control. But if we can reduce the impact of that stress response in your body, really important. And if certain nutrients are going to enable you to handle stress more effectively, that's also going to cushion that effect on you physically and mentally. So omega-3s are important. So this is the one we use in the clinics, an NHP omega-3. It's a fish oil supplement, and you're looking for a level generally of about 770 milligrams of EPA a day, 510 DHA. And you'll see that these are actually in vegetarian capsules. And this is important because you may follow a pescatarian diet, which is what I do. I eat fish, but I don't eat meat or chicken. And my choice would be, you wouldn't want a fish oil in a bovine gelatin capsule. So this is ideal for people who are avoiding any kind of meat or chicken. And I would suggest, if you've got a lot of inflammation in your body, it is definitely worth coming into the clinic or contacting us in Dublin and Galway. I'll give you the information at the end, and having your omega-6 and 3 ratio tested, because if it is too high and the omega-6 is too high in relationship to the omega-3, it can be causing a more of an inflammatory situation in your body. And then we've got vitamin C, which we know is important for your immune function and important especially as we're leading up into the winter. But the impact is also there under stress, and vitamin C disappears from your bloodstream at an extremely rapid rate. And the more cortisol, the more stress hormone is made, the more vitamin C is used. And the research is suggesting that we could be using vitamin C in the prevention and reduction of anxiety. So many benefits in terms of its antioxidant benefit, its immune system support, and also this helpfulness in that stress response. You cannot manufacture vitamin C, a bit like the omega-3s. It's a water-soluble vitamin, so you excrete it fairly rapidly anyway through your urine, but even more rapidly when you're under stress. But it needs to come in from the outside. And again, that's why there's such an emphasis on our fruit and vegetables, intake, making sure we're getting enough of those. Yes, for all the other antioxidant benefits that are in there as well, but definitely for that vitamin C content. So this is the vitamin C we use in the clinic. It's an NHP one. And you'll see it's actually alkaline. It's magnesium ascorbate. It's not ascorbic acid. And that's really important, especially if you get digestive issues, which are uncomfortable. It's much better to have an alkaline vitamin C. I put up here some other information as well, which I thought you might find interesting, especially when the emphasis at the moment is to make sure we're not overweight. So we know that people who have good levels of vitamin C burn 30% more fat when doing moderate exercise. And vitamin C manufactures collagen, and it's really important as we get older because loss of collagen results in wrinkles, and 90% of our bone matrix is collagen. So you want to make sure that you've got enough vitamin C going in generally. And then testing how stressed you are, and we can do that. And cortisol has a circadian rhythm. It's higher in the morning when you wake up because it's revving you up, ready for the day, and then it drops off, and it should drop off as you go to sleep at night. We can't measure adrenaline because it's so short-lived, it's gone within a few minutes, but it's cortisol that's staying around. And this is a really useful test to see where you are. We do it in the clinic. It's easy to do because the lab sends you a kit. It's done with saliva, so it can be collected at home, posted off. The results come back to us in the clinic in Dublin or Galway, and then we can talk the results through with you over the phone or by Zoom or Skype. But all the sample is collected at home. So this is what it looks like. And the green band is where your cortisol should be. Higher in the morning, drops down as you go to sleep. But you can see that this person has got a very high cortisol level, and particularly this level in the afternoon. And when you ask the person, you know, what's happening? Oh, well, they didn't have time for lunch, maybe just had a cup of coffee. So they're basically running on those stress hormones to get through the afternoon at work, which is not good. And the other one that's high is actually the first one of the day. And that's where they're already waking up stressed. They're already in this fight or flight mode. So this is where somebody's really got running on those stress hormones practically for the whole day. And then over time, if this carries on, somebody goes into adrenal exhaustion or adrenal fatigue. It ends up as a flat line. We can help either way. And of course, it's much easier to bring it down into that level because it can go from too high and then crashes right down into this flat line. But really important to see where the stress response is happening, like that particular person would know then to change what's going on at lunchtime, because it can lower that whole cortisol level. And in this case, we need to bring the cortisol back up again, because in adrenal exhaustion, adrenal fatigue, the person really loses their oomph, the motivation to do things, the energy level is dipping right down. They're feeling basically tired all the time. So let's have a look at some of the nutrients and botanicals for a good night's sleep. It is important to look at the sleep routine. We talk about sleep hygiene now. Make sure there's not things going on with your diet or coffee late at night. You're leaving enough time before you go to sleep. There's nothing actually triggering difficulties with that sleep pattern. So we know that vitamin D is important. We know that low levels of vitamin D increase the likelihood that people experience insufficient sleep. Sleeping less than 5 hours a night also affects the quality of your sleep as well. And think about vitamin D3. It's important. We know that D3, 87% more effective in raising and maintaining vitamin D levels than D2. Again, we would be happy in the clinic to test your level, and really important to know because it's also, vitamin D is an immune modulator. It brings up your immune system if it's too low, and that's important as we go through the winter, but it also brings it down if it's too high. And that is important if you've got an autoimmune condition where your own immune system is attacking healthy cells. So really important to think about vitamin D as this immune modulator. It's the ability to balance out your immune function as well as what it's doing in terms of helping with sleep quantity and quality. So there are some botanicals that have been studied over time. There's some nutrients in there as well. And some of them are really good in terms of either helping you get off to sleep or staying asleep. So we'll look at valerian, chamomile, hops, magnesium, L-theanine, tart cherry, passion flower, and also lemon balm. So good research on valerian. It reduces the amount of time it takes to fall asleep by 15 to 20 minutes, and also improving sleep quality. So really helpful in terms of that tired but wired, helping the brain to switch off so you can actually get into a good rhythm of pattern with a sleep, and then staying asleep through the night as well. And even more effective when combined with other herbs such as hops and lemon balm. And this is really important. This is what I found over time. I've been working in the nutrition field for over 30 years and always found that combinations are much more effective than either single nutrients or single herbs. Same with vitamins and minerals. Some work as cofactors for others, like vitamin D and calcium, magnesium and B6. So when we combine nutrients together, there is this synergistic effect. And they also find this with the herbs as well. So this is what valerian with herbs such as hops and lemon balm can help sleep quality when withdrawing from sleeping pills. So you may be on sleeping medication. Do talk to your doctor that you would like to come off of it over time. And you can use certain herbs. Valerian would make the sleeping medication more effective, so you may need less of it while you're asking your doctor if you could think about coming off of it, while you're getting your diet side right of it in terms of blood sugar. You're thinking about the caffeine going in and thinking about a whole lifestyle change of how to improve your sleep. And then chamomile. We talked about the chamomile tea, but it has this calming effect because they think it's related to an antioxidant in there called apigenin. And this apigenin binds to specific receptors in the brain that decrease anxiety and help initiate sleep. So helping you switch your brain off in order to be able to go off to sleep. And then lemon balm. And this was an interesting study. They took stressed volunteers who had mild to moderate anxiety disorders and also sleep disturbances. 95% of the subjects responded. 70% achieved full remission for anxiety, 85% for insomnia, and 70% for both. So some really good research on these botanicals, which have actually been used as traditional herbs for centuries. And then we got passion flower. And again, looking at passion flower together with valerian and hops was as effective as Ambien, which is a drug used to treat insomnia and improving sleep quality. So interesting that they have compared how effective they are versus a sleeping medication. I put magnesium up here again because we know that deficiencies of magnesium may actually cause insomnia itself, agitation, anxiety, irritability, confusion, and headaches. So magnesium supplementation improves sleep onset, early morning awakening, and sleep time. So there may be different factors where you are waking up too early in the morning as well as not being able to get to sleep at night. It just depends where that sleep disruption is happening. And the real aim of all of this is to be able to, for you to fall asleep fairly quickly, to be able to have a good quality of sleep during the night, and then to wake up at an appropriate time rather than too early in the morning and feel then actually you haven't had that full quota of sleep that you need to feel refreshed. And then L-theanine, I mentioned before how it can actually reduce both mental and physical stress, and it comes into its own by being able to give better quality sleep by helping your mind and your brain to switch off and lowering that anxiety and inducing relaxation so you can get off into that sleep pattern much faster. And then some really interesting research on tart cherries. This is Montmorency tart cherries. They've been shown to increase sleep time in people with insomnia by up to 84 minutes. And they help to increase melatonin that has a beneficial effect on sleep duration and quality. There are other health benefits of these tart cherries as well. They've been looking at them in terms of reducing inflammation, also where exercise may have induced muscle soreness, helping with reducing high blood pressure, things like arthritis, which is connected to that anti-inflammatory effect, decrease HbA1c. And this is the glycosylated hemoglobin, which is now measured as a diagnosis of diabetes instead of just random glucose. And it's a very good measure because it shows how your blood glucose is being controlled over the last 3 months. So it's more of a direct, stable measurement of what's going on in terms of that risk of either pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes, and also helps to reduce the very low density lipoproteins. So these are what we call the bad cholesterol, and also the triglycerides. So there's other benefits in terms of these tart cherries, as well as improving that sleep quality. And I was invited to give a talk in 2019 to a group of psychiatrists, psychologists, and psychotherapists at their International Congress on Trauma and Attachment in London. There was about 600 health professionals there. And I was asked to talk about the role of nutrition in healing from trauma. And I was asked by this group of psychologists to formulate a sleep supplement in order to be able for them to use it alongside their patients who may be usually having trouble with sleeping. So I put this one together. I'll show you it. It's under the NHP brand, and it includes many of the botanicals and the nutrients we've been talking about just now. It's called Sleep Support. It is a vegan supplement and in vegan capsules, and it's got in there valerian, chamomile, magnesium, hops, tart cherry, L-theanine, passion flower, lemon balm, and dandelion leaf. And it's normally taken 1 hour before going to bed. I would suggest if you're on sleeping medication and you want to talk to your doctor about coming off of it, I would suggest you just use one to an hour before bed until you're off that medication, but you need to do it under the guidance of your doctor. Otherwise, generally it's 1 hour before bed, and we've had some really good feedback on this sleep support, and it's being used by the mental health care professionals alongside helping their patients with their psychological interventions and putting in things to help them get a good sleep cycle. So you want to sleep well to transform your health, and it is really important. We now know, as I mentioned at the beginning, that it's not just about feeling well the next day, that having more energy, you feel less irritable, that generally you felt refreshed, but it is all about those health risks attached that increase, if you're not sleeping well, increases the risk of type 2 diabetes, cancer, also Alzheimer's. So you're doing this also in order to feel better, but also you're working on your future health as well. So it has enormous benefits, and particularly, as you saw, for your immune function as well. And that's really important at the time we are at the moment, when you're thinking about us now moving into the winter and making sure you've got that good amount of immune support, and your sleep quality and quantity makes a difference as to how well your immune system is going to be functioning. So just all round transforming your health in terms of your energy, your vitality, your mood, and everything else about your future health as well. So many benefits in getting this right. But I would suggest think of it as a lifestyle shift. Think about what you're doing with your food, your pattern of eating. You're thinking about the sleep hygiene, having a really good routine at the end of the day. And you may just find that there are certain triggers that you never even thought that could be making such a difference, that may be going in just in terms of how many cups of coffee you might be having a day, or it may be even green tea may be affecting you. It does contain caffeine, but obviously much less than coffee and black tea. But it's just thinking about what sort of triggers could be either stopping you getting off to sleep, waking you up in the middle of the night and then finding it difficult to get back to sleep. Or for some people, they tell me they're waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and though really they should be sleeping till about 7 o'clock, and it's then they're not getting back off to sleep, but feel their sleep is much too short to give them the benefits of feeling refreshed the next day. So this would be your supplement program. You've got the sleep support in there, the tranquil support, omega-3, and the vitamin C support as well. And all of these are available at your local independent health food shop. So go along. You may need all of them. Some of you may only need certain aspects of it, such as a sleep support, but some of you may need all of these because you need the extra benefits of the omega-3 and the Tranquil and the vitamin C. So you may put yourself on a program of supplements. That's how we usually do it in the clinic, for about 3 months, and just see how you go. You monitor your progress and then see which ones you might need to stay on or what ones you could remove at that time. But you're putting yourself on a good program of supplements alongside what you're doing with your food and your lifestyle changes. And I've written a number of books. The Fat Around the Middle one is the one that I would say is most connected to the impact of cortisol, because it's laying that weight down around your middle. But I've done others on natural alternatives to sugar, and there's lots of recipes in there that are sugar-free, especially if you're aware of yourself on that roller coaster and you want some, if we call them sweet treats, but without creating that roller coaster effect. There's some specifically on female hormone problems like the menopause and also polycystic ovary syndrome, and then getting pregnant faster, and the Natural Health Bible for Women, which really does cover all different women's problems like cystitis and cysts and everything else that we can be affected by as women. And then there's the Dementia and Alzheimer's book, which I did mention earlier. And that was a really interesting one to write. And I was so pleased with the amount of evidence in the medical literature about the information on what we can do nutritionally, particularly the omega-3s, other nutrients and lifestyle changes that can really reduce your risk. And especially this is important if you've got a family history risk of something like Alzheimer's, to think about working on prevention. And I've also written one, this is my latest one, on natural alternatives to dieting, where we do know at the moment it is important to keep your weight under control, particularly with the virus going round. So anything that's going to help you to lose weight, but I'm always after a way of eating that becomes a way of life, that there's something, a pattern of eating that you can do for the future. Dieting implies that you're going to do something, stop it, and then go back to normal eating. You really want a way of eating that becomes a way of life, that helps you with your health now. You get your energy back, you feel well in yourself, mentally and physically, but it's also protecting you for the future. I've put up here the information on the Glenville Nutrition Clinic and how we can help you. And as I mentioned, we can help you by phone, Skype or Zoom. And a lot of our tests, the samples can be collected at home. And the stress one I mentioned, it's done by saliva samples. The lab sends you the kit, you collect the sample at home and post it back to the lab. We're very happy to help you with problems like menopause and osteoporosis, and any hormonal issues like polycystic ovary syndrome, fibroids and endometriosis. We're also very good on digestive problems as well, things like irritable bowel syndrome, bloating, depression, so bloating, flatulence should be there as well, and also SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, a lot of expertise in that area. But anywhere nutrition can have an impact. We look after men, also children as well, also thyroid problems, particularly if there's an immune situation with the thyroid, fertility, and also issues around high cholesterol. So anywhere where nutrition can be used either alongside the medical treatment that you're having, or it could be an alternative, such as the menopause, where you can't take HRT, maybe a history of breast cancer, or you don't want to take it. So we will either combine the nutrition with any medication you're on already, or it might be used as an alternative, such as around the menopause. So those are our one-to-one clinic appointments, Glenville Nutrition Ireland in Dublin and Galway. We're happy to organise any tests that you might need, ongoing support. We've got a wonderful experienced team and can do Skype and phone consultations. So do get in touch. The website is glenvillenutrition.ie and the clinic email address is clinic@glenvillenutrition.ie. I think that might be my last slide. So I'll just call this back up again. And Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you got a lot of information out of this talk. So really important to think of the different changes you can make in terms of getting your blood sugar right, getting a good sleep routine in there, and putting in some nutrients and botanicals where there's good research that help to cushion either the stress response on you physically and mentally, or do help improve your sleep pattern, both in terms of the quantity and quality. So if you need any help, then contact us at clinic@glenvillenutrition.ie. And if you need any more information, then the phone number was there as well. So the website is glenvillenutrition.ie, and any information you can get from there as well. And go to your local health food shops. They will have wonderful choices of foods that don't have the added sugar in there. You're going to get brilliant whole foods, wonderful choices of herb teas, so if you're taking out the caffeine, and they will have the natural health practice, the NHP supplements that I talked about earlier, the sleep support, tranquil support, omega-3 and vitamin C support. So do visit your local health food shop for help in terms of choosing some wonderful different foods that you can include, and also put in the supplement program for at least 3 months, get you back on track and you feel you've got your health back, you're sleeping well, and also your stress levels much reduced. But thank you very much for joining me today, and I do hope you've got some valuable and practical information from it. Bye.